What is going on? Restoration Dominators, Rico Garcia here, back at you again with an amazing episode. Today, I am super hyped because this is going to be a fire episode because this is literally putting money in your pocket 20 to 50% faster on your project. So you're not going to want to miss this episode because it is fire. But before we jump in, I want to give a big shout out to our platinum sponsors, starting with Lawyer Brit, which again, if you haven't caught her Legal Corner, her very own special episode that drops once every month, make sure that you go back into the episodes and check out her content. It's absolutely amazing. Last time we spoke about the new changes that are happening with regards to the AOB and everything that's going on there, as well as she was dropping some major marketing tips that I think each and every single one of us can go ahead and benefit from, as well as Carlos Machine, the claims machine from Policyholder Advocates, also with his Legal Corner, dropping one special episode each and every single month, sharing case studies, as well as keeping us abreast of what's going on, and also highlighting the benefits of working with a public adjuster and how they can help you make more money and have a more satisfied client. Lastly, I want to go ahead and give a big shout out to CNR Magazine, which, by the way, if you haven't gotten your subscription yet, make sure that you just head on over to cnrmagazine.com. Big red button, upper right-hand corner, smash that bad boy, get your subscription, keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. So without further ado, this is what the show is all about. And I'm really hyped up about this one because it's really exciting. Anytime that something changes in the industry for the better, that ultimately for the contractors, guys and gals, just like you and I, right? That are putting in the hard work, that are doing the best thing for our client. Whenever the process of getting paid gets sped up, that's a good thing. And today we are joined by Whatley and Duffy from Sureti. And if you are not familiar with the name yet, I'm willing to bet that in a very short period of time, that is going to be one of the most recognized names within the industry, especially when it comes down to collecting payments and if there is a mortgage company involved. So what is Sureti all about? Obviously, we're going to get into it throughout this entire interview, but the short and sweet of it is this. They have developed a system. They have developed relationships. They have figured out the love language for all parties involved, meaning the restoration contractor, the insurance company, and the mortgage company, to make sure that you as a contractor get paid substantially faster. I mean, look, we've all done any kind of restoration work. We know that just dealing with the insurance company alone, that's a pain in the rear end, right? So you add to that mix a mortgage company on that check. Listen, you may not be getting paid for weeks or months. I mean, we've all felt that pain, right? And trying to get somebody on the horn, trying to go ahead and provide them with all of this information that sometimes even the adjuster doesn't know what the mortgage company is asking for. It's just a flawed system, and it has been a flawed system for such a long time. And Whatley has really done something special for the industry. So today he's going to be sharing everything about Sureti, what they've done, how they've done it, and more importantly, some really exciting things that are going to be coming down the pike here very shortly. But if you're watching, make sure that you keep your eyes peeled. If you are listening, make sure that you keep your ears peeled, because there is a very special offer for you during this interview that I want you to go ahead and take advantage of. That is certainly going to put some money in your pocket a lot faster. So make sure that you're paying close attention. And without further ado, let's jump right into this bad boy because you're going to enjoy it. Let's go.
Owning any type of restoration business is demanding of your time, your energy, and resources. And that's why we're here. This is Restoration Domination. If you're a contractor in water mitigation, mold remediation, biohazard cleanup, roofers, or public adjusters, you'll learn how to dominate using some of the techniques and strategies that our guests will share. We'll interview top industry insiders, movers and shakers, hustlers and hackers, and anyone dominating their industry. This is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, and dominate. And here's your host, Rico Garcia.
What's up, Restoration Nation? Rico Garcia here. Hey, look, so we've got a really exciting podcast today. This is something that I've been really excited to go ahead and put out there. Silently, these gentlemen have been working behind the scenes for several months, and I'm speculating here, but these guys have got to be busting at the seams to kind of get this information out there, get this knowledge in your toolbox, because this is something that I think in the industry could be really disruptive in the sense of how business is going to be conducted moving forward. So jumping right into all of the meat and potatoes here, so that way you guys get informed. Real quick, Whatley, Duffy, thank you so much for being on the show. Are you ready to help us dominate?
Let's do it, brother.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So real quick, for the very few people that don't know, Duffy, go ahead, give us a little introduction on you. And then Whatley, you can jump in, give us a quick little intro. And then we can jump right into the exciting stuff that you guys got going on.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, pretty easy for me to do my background in the industry because it only started about 2 years ago when Whatley gave me a call. We connected through some mutuals, and he needed someone who could do everything or learn how to do everything. And I haven't learned how to do everything, but I've learned how to do something about everything, which has been really, really exciting. We started to build something. It was a huge pain point that Whatley had seen through his career, understood intimately, and we were just trying to figure out different ways to make it happen, different ways to create a solution and a fix. Been able to partner with some really wonderful people in our closed beta that have helped us to not only find the right solutions, but then to evolve them and make them even more impactful, not only for our original partners, but for ones beyond that. So it's been really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to learning even more and bringing our solution to more and more people until hopefully we're either completely everywhere or we're unnecessary because we've solved the problem.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that's one way to dominate.
Yeah, right.
Like
Absolutely. I like it. So Whatley, I mean, obviously you're like a staple in the industry at this point. I think most offices should probably have a picture of you framed up. You know, that's just my
I
personal
can't
opinion.
get on board with this, buddy, but thank you.
But for the few oddballs out there who are not familiar with the name, just give us like the quick little 1-2, because I really want to dive right into all the exciting stuff that you guys are doing in the industry.
I'm a dyslexic general contractor who occasionally gets frustrated with problems that people seem okay with within property insurance, and I'm very much not okay with problems that just pervasively exist. So sometimes I go back to the lab for 1 or 2 years in this case, kind of get quiet on social media and try to solve a problem. And so that's what we've been up to for the last 25 months, Rico.
So I think that that's like the perfect like segue. What exactly was the problem? Like, where was it that you identified this problem where you're like, wait, hold on, let me take a step back from everything that's going on. Let's put pen to paper. Let's make some phone calls. Let's get some really bright minds together and start fixing this. So what problem was it that you identified, and when did you identify it?
The problem seemingly got worse over the last decade, Rico, and I could see this through training through the Actionable channel, where we were going around training like the 50 largest restoration contractors in North America. And we're training like how to get the most out of Matterport and Xactimate, right? The marriage between those two. But before we'd start each training section, we'd say, hey, what is Acme Restoration? What if you could change one thing about how you write or settle claims? There's a really common, consistent complaint around, I can't make my full bonus because mortgage companies are withholding the claims proceeds. And that was really frustrating, kind of bewildering to project managers and estimators. And my heart went out to them, Rico. I'm like, they just want to do great work, and they're actually doing everything right within their control, but the mortgage companies are withholding these monies. So I went back even before we brought on Duffy and just hired an intern, like research project, like what's going on? Why are the mortgage companies withholding these funds? Are they investing them, Rico? That's what I was trying to figure out first. And then like, why are they asking for things like adjuster's worksheet? And why is a lot of what they're doing, what is going on, right? So we ended up connecting with Fannie and Freddie General Counsel and getting their 40-point checklist and finding out really the whys and hows of what was driving it. And like, okay, maybe we can use the relationship, Rico, that we have with some of these largest contractors and go, hey, can we go to work for you trying to solve this problem where we can accelerate the flow of these claims proceeds when a mortgage lender is listed on a claim check?
Right. And for all of us in the restoration industry, at one point or another, we've felt the pinch of having money tied up. And cash flow is a big thing. I mean, in any business, cash flow is, if your cash flow gets tied up, like that's it. You're at risk for a lot of things going wrong in your business quickly. So what does the process look like, right? Like, as for the simple, color by numbers type of explanation, what would this process look like now with your solution as opposed to what this would have looked like, let's say, pre-COVID?
Okay. Pre-COVID, pre-Sureti, Duffy, what are you looking at? So if you're a restoration contractor, Rico, you're going to, win a job. You're going to have signed a contract with a policyholder, and then you're going to write up your Xactimate sheet, and you're going to send that off to the carrier either by proxy, through the policyholder, or directly. There's a lot of debate around that. Some of your guests have opined about that one, but that's for another day. And ultimately, the carrier is going to cut a check, and usually that's going to come out to Mrs. Smith, the policyholder, and a mortgage lender. 87% of the properties, commercial and residential, in the continental United States have a mortgage, Rico. So doing these insurance companies are actually going back to the original underwriting documents and looking at what lender is listed and then cutting that check. And that's an important detail, Rico, because what is it, 17 or 19%, Duffy, of 17. Our checks are reissued?
17% of them.
So, Rico, what's going on, in irrespective of surety, man, these carriers are cutting a check to the wrong mortgage company because a mortgage will change hands 6 times in its lifetime. And so if you're a carrier and you're going back to original underwriting documents from 5 years ago, like, what are the odds that's the same mortgage company? You have a mortgage, I have a mortgage. I know who I bound my mortgage. I know who sold me my mortgage. I have no idea right now. In this business, all I'm talking about is mortgage. I don't know who's my mortgage company is on my properties because it keeps getting sold. Yeah. So anyhow, that check gets issued, goes to Mrs. Smith. It's got Quicken Loans on it. Then that Mrs. Smith reached out to Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans like, we don't have your paper. We don't have your loan. Then she's got to go back to the carrier, have them reissue to Rocket Mortgage because now Rocket has it. And that costs the carrier an average of $170 to cancel and reissue that check and all the administration around it. So they reissue the check. All along, the contractor's like doing work, right, waiting, trying to buy material, or have already bought material in many cases, right, just hanging it out there. So this back and forth goes down. You think by the time we get the right mortgage company and the check physically back to Mrs. Smith, we've burned, guys, a month just now? And that,
easy.
Right?
Easy.
You burned a month. Easy. And so now Mrs. Smith has a check with the right mortgage company. She's like, well, I can't drive down to Rocket Mortgage and cash this check. So she has to send it out to Atlanta, Georgia, right? And she mails this check out. She endorses it. And then Rocket has some myriad of documents that they fax over to her, right? She's got to go down to FedEx or some nonsense to get a fax. I swear to God, Rico, these mortgage companies are still using fax
constantly.
It's their normal default order of business. So okay. And she gets this paperwork, whatever. She's got to sign it. She's on hold with them. She's on hold with them for hours trying to figure out where her check is, so on. So we burn another month in that nonsense, only to have Rocket release a third of the claims proceeds, which then goes to her. And then the contractor has to try to coerce her to cutting that check over to them. And we've burned 2.5 months only to get a third of the claims proceeds over in their rightful hands, which is the restorer.
And meanwhile, the restorer is literally hemorrhaging money because our number one priority is to make sure, hey, that we're taking care of the homeowner, right? We want to be in and out of the project as quickly as possible. We want to get them back whole as quickly as possible. But there's an associated cost with that, right? So that's what typically the process would look like. And I think that rings true to anybody who's been in the business for more than a couple of months. So now when you identified this, right, you're like, okay, this is broken. We could do this better.
It's super broken. It's laughably broken.
Right. But here's what's comical, right? And this is what I think it makes really great entrepreneurs is challenging the way that things have been done and finding new solutions, right? So what does the new solution look like now with Sureti? Which, by the way, before you even answer that, I just want to make a quick comment here. Particularly for those that are watching on social and or YouTube. This is very subtle, right? on Whatley's microphone. That's a Shure microphone. And as soon as he jumped on, I was like, wow. I was like, how creative is that? He just turned a Shure microphone into a Surety microphone. Boom, just like that. Rebranding.
No, but your attention to detail is exceptional because I've been using this for several months, and I don't think anybody's noticed that way. So, because we use the same typographic font as Shure.
Yeah, it just bleeds right in. Yeah, it's amazing. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So, well done. But anyhow, so that whole situation is like comically screwed up, right? And so one fun thing as an entrepreneur, Rico, is approaching a situation and going, hey, my current solution isn't elegant and it's far from perfect, but it is better than what the marketplace is doing today. And so we presented this to some folks that we had a good relationship with, some major restorers. We figured, Rico, if we could support an ATI with 37 offices, we could support anybody, right? So we approached the Moors and we're like, hey, our situation, it's weak, it's clunky, but it's less clunky than what you guys are currently doing. And so what was cool about using and leveraging a company that was doing $500 million a year in restoration work is we could like step back and go, how many collectors do you have? Okay, well, we need a collector that's specialized in mortgage company for every $20 million in revenue. That's a full-time person. Okay, so we know that cost, Rico. Okay, so we back that up. So we know that chasing down money in mortgage companies like actually costing you guys money. Okay, well, what if we could do it for a little less? And what if we could get you paid a little bit faster? Like, that's all our promise was, Rico. It wasn't like we've got this all figured out. At this time, we have no relationship with mortgage companies. We have no relationship with carriers through the Surety brand. We're just like, we're going to go to work for you. And at that point, Rico, we had already had like Android apps and iOS apps and so on. So we had built out the software. It was far from perfect, but it definitely functionally worked. And so all we were doing at that particular juncture was the project manager estimator was like selling the job, and the checks were rolling through corporate ATI, and then corporate was like uploading the checks. The policyholder wasn't doing it at that point. And then we were just going to work because Duffy has a list of our, 4,004 mortgage companies, Rico, and 6,200 now. Wow. Okay. So 6,200 now mortgage companies. This is crazy. But really most, like a third of it's processed by the same company, and so we know what exactly they want because there's what's called mortgage servicers, Rico. So a lot of these mortgage companies like outsource lost draft, that's what it's called in their world, to this other company. We're like, okay, we know exactly what we want. We have their packet or whatever. So we just developed like streamlined signing of documents, and everything was e-signed, and we'd submit that and get the check off to them, and FedExing checks all over the United States, so on. And so we were able to get our restorers paid quicker because we knew the process. Banks tend to deal with other banks with more respect and more grace than they do with contractors. Rico, I never enjoyed this about being a dyslexic general contractor, but I kind of feel that whether it's a homeowner or another financial institution, you kind of have to prove you're not a crook first. You kind of walk in and you're like, to a property, you ever sell a job and you're like, I have to prove to Mrs. Smith that I'm not.
Exactly.
Right? And I feel that restorers are kind of subjected to that in their interactions with mortgage companies. They approach the contractor as if they're up to something nefarious from the outset. And Duffy's team doesn't experience those same turbulence because we are a unbiased fund control company that only exists to establish payment rails so the money flows to the appropriate person. At that time, I should acknowledge, Rico, we were considering like routing funds to the policyholder and letting them administer the proceeds, but we recognized within the first quarter that was a really bad idea. And so all of our payment rails go directly to our certified founding contractors. And so that's the only way the piping works for us. And that helps us constrain fraud and abuse because it's very unlikely that the big restoration contractors is going to have a rogue PM that's going to try to create some scenario where we're going to release unwarranted claims proceeds and it's flowing to the holding company headquarters. Like, how would that even work to their advantage? And it's not like these major contracting companies are trying to pull one over on us. So anyhow, that was a more elegant flow. We just continue to refine it over the last 2 years, and it's gotten much better than where we started. But it was interesting from the first quarter we started, Rico, we were doing it better than.
So something that I find is interesting, right, is this whole, I saw the portions of your previous interview on CNR with Michelle Blevins, and you said that you don't like chalking up a whole lot of things to luck. And in my mind, because I'm always thinking very similar terms as you as an entrepreneur, right? Its definition of luck is preparation, meeting, opportunity. And something that was really interesting was this whole COVID scenario and how you started already putting ducks in a row, if you will, but how now that opportunity presented itself in some roundabout way where the pinch was felt even more during COVID. So do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because I when I heard that, I was like, oh, there's so much like great, amazing value to unpack there that I think even for restorers, right, your typical run-of-the-mill restoration contractors should always be thinking in terms of where they can go ahead and start preparing for the opportunities that may present themselves in the future. So can you expand on that?
We caught a tailwind that we did not deserve through COVID. Duffy, do you want to add some color to what happened with the geospatial scans?
So this was really, really cool and a great timing for us and for me, because it's about when I jumped on board about almost a full year into the whole COVID pandemic and everything shutting down. We were requiring our contracting partners to perform Matterport scans, which would allow us to then realize, okay, you have achieved certain milestones. It's really hard for you to fake these to virtually impossible. We know for certain you've hit 50%, you've completed it, etc. We can release funds to you. Because of the pandemic, what's typically been occurring for mortgage lenders is they're going to put an on-site inspector into the property. They want that to happen. It's some of them, they even have like requirements within their particular rule set that they give to all their agents, etc. What we were able to do is say, hey, don't worry about sending someone inside. Do an external drive-by. We will supply you with either the Matterport scans themselves, and you now have something that's intimate, like incredibly more valuable than anything that you could take with just a camera or an iPhone even, or any sort of picture apparatus. You guys do a drive-by, we'll supply those pictures, we'll supply the scan, we'll give you whatever you guys need, and we can do it quicker. So we would end up talking to a third-party vendor that they would be sending out. We'd say, hey, don't even worry about it. You send someone to drive by within the next 3 days rather than us waiting 3 weeks to schedule someone to come internally.
Right.
Boom, we get you everything else you need. You do the rest of it. We're good to go. Off to the races.
That's amazing.
It was something we were really proud of, Rico, because something that emerged 2 years ago is these mortgage companies all got together, and I think it was organized through the MBA, the Mortgage Banker Association, but they started like charging $750 per inspection unilaterally. So these, say a claim of $100,000 sitting with Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage is going to submit or commission maybe 2 inspections. So they were withholding $1,500 from those claims proceeds and then just sending that back to the policyholder. And the policyholder didn't really understand what was going on. And so the restoration company's going, hey, like, pay me my $100,000, right?
Right.
Plus the deductible. And then they've got this deficit that they're now having to trace back. And Duffy was able to constrain that in every single case after 1,000 checks down, I think with the exception of one, because it's very difficult for a lender to say like, oh, well, we need to send out an inspector and unilaterally withhold these claims proceeds when we're showing up with like a geospatial scan of like, this is the property in real time, like, you're welcome. So we've done a good job, and I'm proud of that. And in many cases, Rico, our fee structure, 2.5 points, it's less than a credit card fee, is less than what the mortgage company's withholding anyway. So we're relieving these contractors of all this administrative burden. And would you rather pay a mortgage company, or would you rather pay your boys Duffy and Whatley for trying to solve a problem that's bugging us all? Like, hopefully the latter.
Shameless plug, by the way.
Anyhow, that's yeah, a shameless plug, man. But I don't know, dude. I really feel good about where the business is at. 6 months ago, we decided to start collecting the deductible. We did that not to sweeten the deal for the stakeholders, but you said it very well on a cast with Andy McCabe 6 months ago. Is like, we are terrible salespeople in this business, and we come in and mitigation comes in and we say, hey, don't worry, Mrs. Smith, we'll take care of all this. We'll build insurance. don't worry about it. And like for Mitt, maybe that strategy works okay. But if you're a full service shop and you hand that over to repair and nobody talked to Mrs. Smith about her $5,700 State Farm deductible, and then you got to reconcile that against, I don't know, maybe $15,000, so a third of the claim for the repair, and now you got to try to collect that $5,700. You and I know, Rico, that's like the hardest money to collect in this business, right? You got a couple nails in the bushes and all of a sudden that gets chopped down to $2,500, right? We got to take it in the chin. And so what Duffy's idea was, and I think it was really wise, which is to step in for our project managers and estimators and just allow them to message in the app and say, hey, please collect the $5,700 deductible from Mrs. Smith. And then Duffy's team goes and we reach out to Mrs. Smith and collect that deductible early in the process, Rico. And so that just becomes a natural part of doing business with Surety, and the policyholders under the impression that we're not going to release any claims proceeds unless they satisfy their end. And so we indemnify the contractor of having to go through that really arduous, uncomfortable collection of the deductible, which really doesn't go their way many times, right? So, and that's been cool.
Right. So you guys basically are the bad guys in the equation of asking for the money, all for the greater good. So there's so much value in that, right? Because again, a lot of people do have this like funny feeling about asking other people for money for services that they're performing anyways, right? Which is the weirdest thing in the planet, but whatever, it is what it is. Money is very taboo for a lot of people, but I think that there's so much value in that, and be like, all right, great, you can kind of continue doing your presentation, however it is that you want. You get your third party reaches out and be like, hey, we need this as per the contract.
We need it. And we don't feel bad about it, right? Because what is our tagline? Hey, it's your money. Like, one thing is for sure, Rico, it's not our money. And the policyholder is not, worried about it. And we also give the policyholder more payment options than your average restoration contractor. So that just happens with less friction because we're a fintech company. So that's pretty easy for us to solve and collect. So anyhow, it was about providing value, Rico, not just at the highest levels of an institution, to the Moore family at ATI. Like, we get that, check that box, right? You get to the Matt Gallions and the David Carpenters, like, the next level, and Kurt Fairless is like, okay, that's established. That's really hard to do, Rico, but that is not going to get it done in a company with 2,000 plus employees. You have to get the bottom up buy-in, the folks that are actually using the product, using the app, communicating with the policyholder. And I think when we started collecting the deductible is when we closed that gap, and we've applied that solution similarly with other.
That's awesome. So how does a contractor, restoration contractors, that are listening to this right now, what would their next steps be if they want to go ahead and be like, oh my God, like, this just sounds absolutely amazing. I need this in my business like yesterday. How do they go about establishing a relationship with Surety?
What, Duffy? I mean, they go to the website and there's some kind of flow when your head pops up and says, hey, I'm Duffy. And I'll give you
there's a couple of things.
Right? Oh, what does it look like? I'm pretty far from that, Rico. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, people find us. What's actually happening, Duffy? I don't know.
Can actually get onto the Surety system, or even just have a conversation. To a point that Whatley made earlier, like, we want this to be a value proposition for everyone. We want this to be something that works for your shop. So the first step is to talk with someone from our team. If they go to our website, surety.com, sureti.com, right up at the top, they're going to see a little book a demo button. Hit that button. You're going to book a demo probably with myself or with another member of the team, and we'll sit down and we'll chat about Surety. I'll walk you through what our solution is. I'll walk you through our near and our far future. We'll talk about your shop and see if this is a good solution for you. We want this to be good for you as a contractor. This should be a plus for you. So we'll make sure that we're, meeting in the middle somewhere. You can also, maybe go to the link in your podcast. You can get dropped right into a page where you can watch our video. You can learn a little bit more about us. And you can also hit a book your demo button. There's also a way to just straight up sign up. You can give us your information. You can give us your website, and then we'll go ahead and reach out with you, find a good time that fits on your schedule, talk through whatever you want to talk through, and hopefully, once again, our goal is to get you on a demo so that you can try our product, make sure that you're satisfied, and then, hey, let's partner up if we're all good.
Yeah, and what I'll do, Restoration Nation, I'm going to drop a link in the video description below, as well as in the show notes. And I believe that the URL, the final URL, is going to be surety.com/dominate. Again, for those of you that don't know how to get to the show notes, because it is confusing to get the show notes sometimes, surety.com/dominate. And it'll also be on the Restoration Domination website. Just go ahead and look up this episode, and all of the pedigree information is going to be located there as well. Whatley, what's next? Like, what's the next big conquer for Surety and maybe even beyond? Like, what else is grinding your gears in the industry?
Oh, there's a couple things, but Surety's going to be where my head's at for the next 3 years. This is a major problem. I'm pumped that we built a rocket ship, Rico, and we were really quiet because we didn't really have the fuel to take off and go anywhere. And so we funded 2 months ago with a really credible player, one of the most powerful strategic partners in the property restoration ecosystem. They're knocking down our carrier relationships for us, for our collective benefit. And so now that we are establishing master service agreements with major carriers and even smaller carriers, Rico, we're agnostic to your size, but we're not charging these carriers anything to just say, let us go at risk and cut the check to us, Rico. And so on a third of Duffy's claims, they're going much smoother in that we've cut out the mortgage company altogether. And that's going to allow us to provide better service for our restorers, maybe even drop the price over time. We're not going to charge more than we need to, Rico. So to the extent that the carrier is just issuing the check to our sub account for that particular claim, our job is really quite easy, right? We're just reconciling the Matterport scan against the Xactimate sheet and just saying, okay, did you do the work or not? Boom, here's the money. So that's a future that I think is really exciting, and we're super pumped about our strategic partnership, and that will define the next 3 years of our life. I don't think I need to do anything else, man. For 3 years, like, that seems like if we can tackle this and get these mortgage companies out of the picture. It sounds awful when I'm saying cut the mortgage companies out, but Rico, what I haven't mentioned is these mortgage companies are spending millions and millions a year to administer these claims proceeds. And we know this because on our board now is PNC, which is the third largest lender in the United States. And they spent $2.7 million to a subcontractor to handle their loss draft last year, Rico. So they're just, that we know the number that they're paying out in administrative cost. And we can step in and just circumnavigate them being involved in the process directly, Rico, but still observing their interest, because they can still go and subrogate or get a judgment against the carrier if the property isn't restored to pre-loss condition. And that's what we're indemnifying the carrier of. If that happens, then they can come to Surety. And a weird connection that's maybe full circle on the name, Rico, you and I as contractors, we've been paying for a contractor surety bond for as long as you and I have been a GC, right? And if you're anything like me, 15 years, nobody's made a claim against it. I just keep paying for insurance nobody's using. So what I wanted to do is tap into insurance that nobody was using. So the reason it's called Surety is if you onboard as a Founder Series contractor, if you're one of the first 3 in our top 100 MSA, Rico, you're a Founder Series contractor, which means you'll be preferred in our rotation of claims. Like at some point, Rico, I don't want to overpromise, but we're going to have our own claim volume, man. But our Founder Series contractor, first 3 in every MSA, will get preferential treatment. So at any rate, I lost my train of thought, Duffy. Where the heck was I going? Founder Series, some claims, maybe, don't overpromise.
That's a good question, because you're kind of overarching, what do we want to be? Where are we going with this?
Yeah, what are the next steps? I mean, it seems as if there's like so much going on.
Yeah, dude. We just need these carriers to play ball with us to cut the mortgage. Oh, I was trying to say, like, dude, it sounds terrible that we're saying cut the mortgage company out, but the mortgage company wants to be cut out.
Well, really, it's all about, and what really makes good business great business is when you're filling a need that does actually benefit like all parties involved, right? If the homeowner, if the contractor is getting paid faster, that means that the homeowner is happier. That means also if you guys are eliminating some of the friction and some of that potential cost in draft loss, And all of a sudden now there's a bump in profit margin, which again, maybe this is minute for most guys listening out there. And when you're talking about, 0.2%, 0.3%, 0.5%, well, in the world of finance, when you're dealing with billions and billions and billions of dollars, that's a lot, So fixing those little issues, that's like the win. Like that's where, again, the landscape of how business has been done starts to change. And I think that you guys just really put yourselves in a really unique and special position to really do that moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to build something that could be loved and appreciated by all materially interested parties. Rico, I was concerned about how policyholders would receive surety because they are relinquishing some perceived rights because we're holding the funds and not them. Our experience has been fantastic. Reviews. Duffy's team even got a handwritten letter from a policyholder recently, like thanking us. We are really available to our policyholders. Duffy's team is salaried and they're invested in getting the claims proceeds through the process. And so we have checks in the software, Rico. If nobody works a check for 3 days, then a little red alert goes off and says like, hey, somebody needs to work this check along. So if you're a contractor, if you put us on it early, you don't have to worry about getting your money through because we only get paid when you get paid, right? So now you've got this army of folks trying to work the claims proceeds through their advantage, but in so facto, you're getting 97.5% of all the claims proceeds as the restorer. And we didn't realize this at the outset, Rico, and this is a little politically tumultuous for us, but I should give some credit to Right Way, a Florida contractor. Josh Reynolds down there, his team with Owen, they started adding the surety fee to their Xactimate sheets from the outset. And so they've been really successful in getting reimbursed for the surety fee because there's no one in the Xactimate price list, Rico, that accommodates and seeks to accommodate all the administrative cost, headache, time-weighted cost of capital associated with mortgage companies withholding these claims proceeds. And so it can be reasonably argued that the carrier, as a cost of doing business to be a carrier, they need to help provide some relief for those costs. Now, whether it's warranted to add O&P is
that's a totally different topic.
We shouldn't get into today, but that's made some sense. But we have, we've now evolved the software. So when you write your Xactimate sheet, you go through and you initiate the claim with us with a couple clicks, and then you get an email with a PDF and JPEG. You can add that in your F9 note. We deliver you a macro too, which provides the language, so on, to add that to your sheet pretty elegantly. And then it's up to you and the carrier to decide whether it's warranted. Our experience has been it's gone well outside of program work. Program work, I don't want to give your audience the impression that you're going to get paid for the surety fee on a very regular basis as it stands. But we've seen the innovation, man, from our restorers that we've onboarded. We thought that was really cool, and then we just sought to accommodate it. So I guess it's get us involved as early as possible, and then we're running down those claims proceeds. So even before the check gets cut, if you're adding that to the exact sheet, now Duffy's team is going to work trying to get a hold of Mrs. Smith and saying, hey, you're going to receive this check. Go ahead and download the app. When you do, you can see how it's coming together, right?
Absolutely. Right. And that's the beauty of this. I mean, this should really be for anybody watching and listening. I mean, it's kind of like one of those no-brainer bolt-ons that your business just has always needed, and someone finally filled the gap. That's just pretty simple and straightforward. I know that we're on a time crunch here today. So final thoughts. Duffy, what are your final thoughts? What do you want to let the restoration world know about surety and about things to come, where they can get in contact with you, and then follow that up, Whatley?
Yeah, absolutely. Come check out our website, see if this is a good product for you, see if this fits your business. If you're not sure, set up a demo. If you're really sure, set up a demo. Let's talk. Give me 45 minutes of your time. Let's see if this is a good fit for you. I think it's going to be 99 times out of 100. And if we agree, let's do it. Let's get together and try to get some checks actually flowing in your system. Let's get some money in your accounts. Let's get happier policyholders, happier clients, and hopefully get the mortgage lenders entirely out of your business.
Whatley, final thoughts.
Let's do some unprecedented stuff. Duffy's going to hate me for this. One, let's create a coupon code for those within the Restoration Domination ecosystem. We'll do 90 days forego the fee. Rico, there's a 90 $6 a month fee to be active on our network as a Founder Series contractor. So we'll forgo that for 9 days. Let people use it. This is what we've never done. We'll process your first check free with that coupon code. So like, just give it a shot. Make it happen. We'll show you what we can do. We're not going to promise you that it's absolutely perfect, but it is better than what you are probably doing right now, and we want to illustrate that for you in a real way. There's 3 MSAs, municipal service areas, that we need coverage on for a big deal that we're working on with a pilot, and we're jammed up. I need Portland, Oregon, and Richmond, St. Louis, and then Richmond, Virginia. That's right.
Correct.
So if you are in that area, the first 3 to sign up, Rico, just sign up and just become part of our network, which takes you like an hour. Just like uploading basic documents like your insurance and license. We'll send you out some surety pods. So
Surety
don't
pods
suck, and they are not cheap.
Awesome.
Anyhow, we need those 3 yesterday, Rico. So if you know anybody there, let's get somebody out on our network. We need dots on a map, Rico, so we can have a commercially viable product in the eyes of our mortgage companies and carriers. The next year of my life is just knocking down those big deals so we can really establish elegant payment rails directly from the carrier to surety to the restorer.
Yeah, and look, this is, I just want to go ahead and just kind of wrap up the show with this, speaking directly to, the dominators out there. Look, it's always a little awkward when people come onto the show and they've got like this product that, they obviously know is really good, but then they always use language like, let's see if it's a good fit. I'm a contractor and I don't have a horse in the race, and this podcast is not sponsored. So let me just tell you what it is. Very simply, this is what I'm hearing. If you want to get your money faster, go online, sign up. Like there's a broken system. Everybody knows that there's a broken system. There's really zero thought. So if you're in the contracting business and mortgage, lenders are on a check, and you want to find a way to potentially expedite that process with a lot less friction, I don't know what it is that you're talking about. And if you like waiting for your money, then continue doing what you're doing. So on that note, Restoration Domination. Remember, hustle, hack, and dominate.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, interviewing the restoration business's top industry insiders, the movers and shakers, the hustlers and hackers. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Hook up with us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Restoration Domination to catch video interviews, highlights, and behind-the-scenes content. And follow your host at Rico Garcia Jr. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.